Good morning, everyone. Welcome to podcast number 709 here at the Doctor Within. Today we're going to talk about children. The worst tragedy of all today, what we're doing to our children. Think of Pearl Harbor or 9/11. These events pale by comparison to the desolation we've just experienced these past months in terms of total harm to the human race. This is 100 times worse. With no opposition, no resistance, we have surrendered overnight the civil liberties possessed by no other nation in history, the freedom that hundreds of thousands of American soldiers have died for in all our wars up to World War II. In the blink of an eye, we traded in our sacred democratic republic for some kind of authoritarian cowboy bureaucracy. Does this seem like it's just some kind of momentary glitch in modern history? Just another footnote for the news archives? Think again. They're setting up permanent transformations to the social order based on the fabricated illusion that a mild illness can be a serious permanent threat. Spending millions in preparation now for the next phony pandemic. I mean, think about it really. How can anybody predict a pandemic unless it's invented and contrived? Though many are at least partially aware of the cataclysmic nature of this contrived upheaval, they don't speak out, or else they can't speak out for career reasons, or else they're censored. To our own detriment, most of us have bought into the junk science that describes an impossible global pandemic and have accepted the superstitious solutions meted out by unschooled bureaucrats whose prime objective is to exaggerate the crisis and drag it out as long as possible for their own benefit. But all that's still not the worst of it. Nobody talks about what's happening to our children. They're the most important demographic of all, and they're being ignored. They are the future, and their entire lives are going to be fundamentally and forever altered by the events taking place right now. It would be glib to say that all this will make them stronger in the long run, as past challenges have made us stronger, etc. But that's only true if they get to grow up with all the advantages of the democratic system that we grew up in, flawed though it sometimes has been. But that very ideology is under attack right now like never before. So let's take a quick look at the world we've forced upon our poor kids these past months. We stole their spring from them, and now we're stealing their summer. We've isolated them from all contact with their friends and peers. We've kept them away from sports, games, amusement parks, camps, vacations, parties, normal social activities. We're turning them into functional germaphobes, handicapping them against ever discovering the science of normal microbial symbiosis as it contributes to human health and immunity. We've forced them even deeper into the virtual life of laptops, Switch, and iPhones, teaching them that this fake cybernetic existence is just as good as real life. We're about to send them back to schools, most of which are in the process of being completely transformed by extremist bureaucrats forcing radical politics onto innocent children. New mandates for making the return to school in the fall a shocking, humiliating experience. Permanent face masks, permanent distancing, no recess, no group activities, no sports, no music, new brainwashing. It's all been mandated. Schools will introduce the totalitarian idea from North Korea, where kids are rewarded for snitching on their friends, all part of the new contact tracing just announced recently, your note number 6. Finally, the crowning insult, we're about to force Gates's experimental untested new vaccine that will alter the formative DNA of children. For places in which all of the above is true, these states are simply no longer fit for raising children. And that's why so many people are leaving. No program of systematic child abuse like this has ever been imagined before. Yes, it's true, kids are resilient to illness and trauma, but there's a limit. This new path is going to damage most of them in the long run and many in the short run, especially when the new vaccine comes out, as proven by the $4 billion paid out in vaccine injury compensation, a fact forbidden by most media. No recess, sports, group activities, and constant face masks. The unprecedented transformation about to take place in our schools is not yet a part of public awareness. That shock is coming in September. You'll see. Never before has homeschool been so attractive. Its ranks are swelling. People find out very quickly that homeschool educational levels dwarf the average grade school anywhere. Very shortly here, we're about to see homeschool become the Darwinian option. Children and face masks. In our videos, face mask exemptions, your note number 6, and the germ theory, your note number 8, we give a decent introduction to the real science and physiology behind wearing face masks. Take a look at those sources below. We show how virtually all peer review proves the overall lung damage from wearing face masks, especially with the developing lungs of kids. How could it be otherwise when with every breath you're supposed to breathe in oxygen and expel carbon dioxide? If you block both, you're promoting asthma, allergies, lung disease, and infection. That's incontrovertible. Why would your state government want to force children to get sick? That's what happens when mindless bureaucrats take over medical decisions for the whole population. Review that part of the germ theory video, your note number 8, where we show how it would be easier for you to paddle your kayak under a bridge that is 4 times longer than the Golden Gate than it would be for a single virus to penetrate the mesh of your face mask. These 2 videos cite dozens of authorities that prove beyond a reasonable doubt that face masks provide no protection whatsoever from infectious disease. Here are just a few of those citations. Scott Jensen, MD, your note number 2, shows exactly how the daily case numbers are falsely compiled and falsely reported. He shows the financial motivation behind diagnosing most patients as COVID when they do not have the disease at all. Dr. Alan Preston, note number 2, reminds us that COVID is a mild disease 97% of the time. I'm going to repeat that. COVID is a mild disease 97% of the time, requiring no treatment. You're fine in 10 days. But here's the kicker. Kids don't get COVID. Almost never. Michael Roizen, MD from Cleveland Clinic, your note number 2, shows us that anyone under 18 is immune to COVID. There are virtually 0 deaths and 0 cases below 18. Scott Atlas, MD, concurs, quote, schools should be open. COVID presents a virtually 0 risk for children. Even in the rare instance they get the flu, they cannot transmit it to other people, unquote. Your note number 7. Dan Erickson, MD, says the same thing, how COVID is virtually, quote, no threat to kids, with almost no cases or deaths nationwide. Schools should open immediately and should never have been shut down, unquote. Your note number 2. There are simply no sources to the contrary. All legitimate science says the same thing. In the absence of any evidence proving protection from disease, face masks are primarily a device for ritual humiliation, dehumanizing a docile, neutered population. They're getting us used to it. If folks so willingly accept this level of mindless degradation, what will they object to? How easy it will be for what's coming next. Just rolling over and wearing masks ourselves is bad enough, but making our kids do something we know is harmful just because we're afraid of making waves? That's your idea of protecting your kids? But to protect them, first you have to inform yourself. So, don't believe a word of this podcast. Check these sources yourself. How much is all COVID diagnosis incentivized? Who benefits from all these positive tests? Once the bureaucrats co-opted the right to make scientific decisions, forcing protection on a population, an epidemic can last as long as they like. Once the bureaucrats controlled the daily figures, there was no end in sight. Here are 5 unanswered questions. Number 1, where's the proof that everyone with the diagnosis actually has the same disease? Number 2, what's the reliability of the 5 tests for COVID? Number 3, what science proves the necessity for lockdown of a healthy population? Number 4, what science proves face masks protect from microbial disease? And question number 5, what science proves schools needed to close? As Scott Atlas, MD, says, there is no common sense involved in closing schools at all. Children are simply not susceptible to COVID, period. School closure is the result of an irrational lack of leadership. He then shows that video of bulldozers in Venice Beach covering over a skateboard park with sand in the pretense that children need to be protected from playing. See video, your note number 9. Same thing in New York City, where playground gates are being welded shut. Your note number 7. This is madness, not science. What are we doing to our kids? Why are we making them pawns in this game of big pharma and politics? Ask yourself this question. When was the last time you saw a spark of pure joy and excitement in your child's face? How many months has it been? Isn't it now mostly just that dull cybernetic glow, that electronic overdose? Kids aren't supposed to be with their family 24 hours a day, indoors, for months on end. They're supposed to be with their friends and peers at school and at play. Nobody's talking about the permanent collective psychological effect that lockdown is having on children. If they ever do, it'll either be a cover-up or else a trick to sell more drugs and vaccines. What's coming next? Can't tell you how many people have contacted me lately asking for advice about what state to move to or what country. In case you haven't figured it out yet, this lockdown is not likely to end until an experimental vaccine is available. Once that is disseminated, watch how fast the daily numbers will dwindle right before your eyes. That's what we're all being ransomed for all these months. With this whole Tower of Babel spectrum of opinions on the COVID phenomenon, one thing most of us now agree on is this: the amount of damage from the solutions to COVID is now exponentially greater than the disease itself ever was. That includes lockdown, face masks, closed schools, testing, drugs, vaccines, stolen life, all of it more devastating to our culture than any harm coming from this very mild, mostly harmless disease. The governors keep saying science, science, science about the continued need for face masks and lockdown, but they never, ever cite any, except for Fauci, right? And they act as though COVID is the bubonic plague. Seems they deliberately keep forgetting this. COVID is a mild, self-limiting disease. A few sniffles for a couple days and you're fine. 97% of the time. Unless you're a kid, then you can't get it at all. Look at your own life. All the time and productivity that has been stolen from your life these past months. Just think if you could have put all that energy into advancing your own career, your own projects or your business, or taking better care of your family. All that was stolen from your life. And all that opportunity for normal development stolen from your children. An entire spring and summer season, imprisoned in front of their computers, afraid to go outside and play for months. We can never get it back. And don't forget, we could have avoided all of this just by ignoring that original TV announcement on that fateful March 16th. So what can you do? Take your kids hiking, ride bicycles, get them out of the house. Let's stop electing these morons to office. Then stop pretending this is a vacation. We're witnessing the worst disaster of our lifetime right now. This is your life going by, being wasted and stolen. At least use this time to inform yourself. It might save you some time to start with the podcasts and videos listed on the homepage at The Doctor Within. There are a few good videos listed below, not yet censored, that represent a non-cookie cutter, non-propagandist view of the COVID phenomenon. Rashid Buttar, Tony Robbins, Dennis Prager, David Icke, John Rappaport, Scott Atlas, etc. Watch them all. So thanks for your kind attention. Please download this before it disappears. Then please subscribe. For more on immunology and natural medicine, please visit thedoctorwithin.com. Thank you very much.